Hey guys, I just wanted to make a quick video here with some really simple, basic technical analysis looking back over the past little over a year or so and noticing some trends that have happened and comparing them to the current dip that we're in now. Basically the TLDR of this is going to be from that technical analysis that I do think it's not going to be unrealistic for us to go lower than we are now. It is what is the date today? December 27th. Um, and Anyway, yeah, I just make a basic argument why if we go lower, it's not going to be inconsistent with our past trend. But I want to end this video also with why even if we do go lower, um, don't freak out because it's not inconsistent with our trend, and our trend is up. So if we go lower, we're going to be going higher. And then I also give, that's the technical analysis side of it. And then I'm also going to give some arguments, some basic things that are almost concrete in place for this year that are, it's hard for me to understand how they're not going to push the Bitcoin demand higher than ever, and of course from that the price higher than it ever has been. I think ultimately for Bitcoin and I think for alt currencies, while we may have a huge dip, alt currencies are a little harder for me to argue, but I do think indirectly they're going to have a push as well. Um, uh, I do kind of want to keep this specific to Bitcoin. Um, uh, that's the whole point of this video is Bitcoin. I don't want to talk about altcoins so much. But anyway, I do think the overall year for 2018 for Bitcoin is bullish. And of course, one thing I have to say, and I probably should have started with this, I'm just a random person. Like, judge my arguments off of their own validity. I cannot give financial advice. I'm not any kind of registered financial advisor. I know that's blatantly obvious. I just don't. That odd chance that someone gets upset about something I said, I don't want to get in trouble for it. And honestly, I really do want you watching this to base your own conclusions. Use my reasoning and thoughts to make your own conclusions. This is me. Some of the reasons why the way I'm looking at things, and why I'm making my choices related to Bitcoin this year. So anyway, I just wanted to say that before I started this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to do a little tiny bit of technical analysis here. I think this is going to be probably extremely basic, but I'm just going to look at some patterns that from the past and then make some uh, really obvious conclusions from them here. But basically, this is TradingView that I'm logged into here, and I'm on the Coinbase to USD chart. How you get these charts, by the way, is you just start typing in the crypto you particularly want, and then I want to look at Bitcoin to USD. So I do that, and then I want to look at Coinbase. I'm only using Coinbase because I think that's just the most likely chance of the people that who I'm talking to is using that. They're really, with arbitrage and other things, they tend to relatively even each other out, so it's not extremely important. Um, but I'm just going to use the Coinbase one, like I said. And then another thing, I wouldn't really mean to go over this stuff with this video, but I'm just going to do it anyway. If you go to click the little settings icon there, generally two settings I almost always want, especially when looking at something like Bitcoin, is well, really the one I want to talk about is log scale. You don't have to, but I highly suggest putting log scale on. With the extreme increases in price that Bitcoin's had, I think it's even more important. Your perspective can easily be skewed by the dollar increase, when really I think what really matters is the percentage increase. So I think that's just really important to have. I usually leave auto scale on. It just helps the chart fit your page a little better. Um, uh, anyway, I'm gonna move myself. Anyway, um, but anyway, that's all I really need to say there. But I wanted to just go through, yeah, look at this Bitcoin to USD chart. Look at the last drops, compare them to this drop, and just see how the two compare, um, and go from there. But basically, I'm going to use this little tool here, which is just a measurement tool. I think it's pretty useful, and it's going to tell me the percentage drop or increase, and it's also going to tell me how many candles it equated to. So for example, this drop right here is, you know, the drop we're in from our all-time high to the drops. The bottom here is about 47%. I am going to count the wicks for these. You can do it without doing that, obviously, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of variables in here that can suggest different things, but I'm including the wick. So this is approximately from top to bottom, 5 bars, which I'm on the, if you look at the top left here, I'm on the 1 day. So that means it was 5 days from our all-time high to the bottom of this current dip that we've had so far. I just want to compare, how does that look to these past dips here? So we had a little tiny dip. It's almost not even worth counting, but I'm just going to do it for fun, and I'm going to count the wicks again. From the very top of the wick to the very bottom here is approximately 30% drop, and it lasted approximately 5 days. I think I have an extra wick, so I think it lasted 4 days. So that tiny little guy is almost the amount of time it took for this one to drop. Let's compare to the drop before that. So our all-time high to that next drop, 13 days, and it was a 40% drop. So slightly smaller percentage drop, but it took twice as long for that to happen. And then we've got this one right here, which is roughly a 36% drop. Oh, sorry. 40% drop, and a 36 day. So over a month from the all-time high till it actually hit the bottom. And you can see, like right here, it had a little fake out drop of sorts right here. And that was a 30% drop. And it only took 4 days for that to happen. Not extremely unlike what happened right here with our, 4 or 5 days, I think, and our 47% drop. It kind of faked out, played around a little bit, and then it went all the way down another little bit below even what it did that first time. So I think that's worth noting. And let's go back here. You got a crazy little wick spike up there. It took approximately 16 days. If you don't count that wick, it took approximately 19 days and a 30% drop there. There's another little quickie. This one was 8 days and a 36% drop. And if we go back even farther, we are in 2016 for this one. The high back down to the low here is got my little thing in the way. 46 days and 40% drop. And another thing you notice here is that first one there, it had a 30% drop, started working its way up, it couldn't hold it, and then it took over a month for it to hit that bottom before it really started building up again. So I think you can one suggestion, one thought, is just realizing in the past, when Bitcoin has dropped quickly right off, it's either come back just as fast, or it's petered out, dropped even farther down, and then from there it's actually built back up. I think just realizing that is what has happened in the past with Bitcoin is worth noticing. Whether or not that's going to happen this time is not the same as those other times. The circumstances are different for so many reasons. So, but just realizing that taking that into account and making your decision off of that, I think is worth it. Some other things here, just looking at, out of curiosity, what the relative increase from the last high to the next high has been over time. So if I count this tiny little dip right here, that high to the very top there is 167% increased. Holy smokes. And it only took about roughly 42 days. And then if I do the same thing from the top to that one, top of that one is a 50% increase, and it took 68 days approximately. And this is a 81 day and a 60% increase. This is a 97 day and 131% increase. And this one is really, really, really small. This one is a 16% increase roughly in a 65 day. Just realizing this last run we had is a relatively small amount of time from the last high to the new high. Actually, is it really that small? Let's do that again. So it's 40 days, 68 days, 82 days, 96 days. This one's really small, 62 days, and then the next one's huge. 200 days for a 50% increase. Yeah, so it is a relatively small amount of time, and within that time, the amount of increase is relatively high. And then just realizing that over time, our increases are slowly coming faster. They have been coming faster, and it's not like the all-time high is coming faster, and the high is a little bit percentage-wise, it's even higher than before. And that things like that, I think, are why they're considering this parabolic. If this trend continues, it's a parabolic. I would say it's hard to argue that it's not a parabolic trend. A lot of people with this dip are saying that the parabolic trend was broken. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But another thing here is you can see I drew in some not so nice looking support lines. I do think that in the past, where Bitcoin has dropped, there has been fairly substantial support. Oh, I'm in the way here. So like, so the bottom of this, like look at all this support right here. It found that support, and then blah blah blah. It had a good dip. Look at all this amazing support right here. Went all the way up, all this stuff. Even has like, it was kind of establishing a good amount, like the amount of support we have at this price is so good. But it goes down, it finds this little support right here. And the same thing over here. My line's crooked, but it doesn't, it's the rough idea. Nothing's ever perfect anyway. Nothing ever goes exactly where support is. It's roughly around that area. But you can see like there's so clearly a lot of support. You look at where we're at right now, and there's a little bit of support right here, where we stayed at that price. You can see awesome, amazing looking wicks, 2 in a row, right here at a little below where this candle ended, candle wick ended. But really the next support that seems halfway like anything we've seen before where Bitcoin decided to correct to is actually way down here at 8,200-ish. And then there's some more support, tiny bit of support at 7,700, and some more support at 7,390-ish. So I'm just recognizing that our bottom has come unusually quick, and it is dropped. While the drop is substantial, that percentage drop we've had is good. Our percentage increase is also really good, and we didn't actually come down to a very good support level. How much we're held up currently at our current price, I would say, is fairly weak. Obviously, there's a ton of variables going into this thing. The circumstances we have now are different than the past. Using the past to predict the future is never 100% accurate, because the now is different than it was back then. But just looking at some of this basic stuff, and I think one conclusion I can say fairly confidently is if we go lower, then our low of which felt relatively low at the time of 10,400-ish on Coinbase, even if we go that low and we break that, I do not see the end of the Bitcoin world by any means. I see a fairly realistic um, bounce because we've bounced too quick relative to our past, and we didn't go down to support. And the thing is, like, our dip, while the percentage dip we've had is fairly substantial relative to our past, relative to the percentage increase we've had, it's really not that substantial. So um, I'm just, yeah, the short of this is I could see a lower low coming, because we've had things like that happen in the past, and because a lower low, percentage wise, drop wise, it's not that unrealistic to imagine. I do think we could have something similar, where we just bounce right back out of it. Um, and what I'm saying makes sense until it doesn't. To me, like, if it starts proving it's wrong and it starts coming up and it breaks an all-time high, we could have something like this where it comes off and goes back down. I don't know. But I mean, it'll. I just don't think there's reason to panic if we do come lower. And those are just some basic reasons for that, and some basic reasons to be cautious and not necessarily go all in on the current price, because I think there's a halfway decent argument to be made that we could go lower. Anyway, so this is actually, if anything, this isn't meant to be any kind of FUD video. Long term, like, I don't see, this is almost the opposite of what it might sound like, because I think long term, for our incredible, amazing pattern to be continued, it would our overall increase is still going to be, well, our pattern is still here of almost unbelievable increases, with even a drop incoming. So if it goes lower, if we break 10,000, or we try to test that again, don't be scared. Probably a good time to start buying. I think a dip of 7,500 ish, down to there is an amazing time to start buying, and um, I think we're in for some good gains, and I think there's a lot of good reasons why this year we're gonna have a higher highs than ever, and it's hard for me to imagine that this rough trend, even if we go down pretty low here, isn't gonna continue on. Okay, so there's always the technical analysis side of things, where you can make conclusions based on volume and past history and stuff like that. But then there's a totally different side of looking at things, just the fundamentals of a company or something like that, obviously. So these are basically some reasons why I think we haven't reached the end of the Bitcoin trend, and these are looking at Bitcoin in a totally different way. Um, this is just 6 things that I think make sense. Basically, um, the Nasdaq Bitcoin futures coming soon, the New York Stock Exchange coming, the CBOE Bitcoin ETFs. The New York Stock Exchange ETFs, the CBOE ETFs. I mean, all three of those represent such a large amount of money, and Wall Street essentially validating and putting more focus on and more money related to Bitcoin. That is, to me, so bullish, and um, uh, fundamentally, it's hard to imagine how that will not push the um, desire for Bitcoin up from where it's at now. I do think that also, oh man, as fast as technology is improving, I think that it can't improve fast enough. I think the current Bitcoin, uh, I mean, the high fees and slow transaction times of Bitcoin are a huge problem, but I know that things like Litecoin and Dash, and some other things are coming in place, making that problem potentially such a significantly small deal. And I can't, man, I can't wait for that to happen. I think it's going to be so beneficial for everyone. I think there's going to be coins that bridge that gap, that are going to do really well. I think I really want Litecoin to do well. I like Litecoin. Dash is legitimate also. Um, but I think I think there's going to be some progress there, and I think that's another reason you can see these things. Watch the white papers, watch Charlie Lear and his plan for the future, and how that's like they already have some of these problems somewhat proven. They just got to integrate and make it more user friendly, I think, and I think that's just as time is going, that's going to be it's going to be happening. And then um, another thing is just kind of the same thing as the Nasdaq futures, the ETFs coming in, is simply the just looking at it the way I think my rough understanding of mutual funds and hedge funds and things like that. Um, uh, it can be so useful to have hedges and to have a portfolio built in a way where you have less related markets. Obviously, the markets you have, you want them to be related in one way that they're going up. But Bitcoin is a different type of market than stocks or bonds or index funds or whatever. And I think it's hard for me to imagine that these brilliant people aren't going to at least put managing other people's funds aren't going to at least put some of the funds in crypto, and especially because uh, it is being validated and taken more seriously over time. I think it's just going to be something that's going to be natural for them to put some of their funds into. Um, and then another thing is we had a China ban of sorts on Bitcoin, and it's a pretty big deal. It's a fear that a lot of people have, and right now China is still in that state, and our price is this high. And like I said here, China can't reban crypto. It's already banned, so if anything, I mean, we could have some other countries ban, like South Korea. It looks like South Korea is fairly friendly towards cryptos. It's fairly unlikely. I think our future, we're in a pretty good spot. The SEC in the United States seems to be very realistic. It's almost exactly what I'd want right now. It's very close to what my rough understanding of the SEC is looking at it. Like we want freedom, but if someone is taking advantage of someone else, we want something to happen against them. And I think the SEC steps are not they're not China, where they're going to ban everything. I think the steps they're taking are actually hopefully making a foundation for crypto to take off and actually benefit the majority of people. But anyway, so just wanted to end this video with that, because even if we go down a lot right now, as long as these things stay in place, those are really um, it's it's just a different way of looking at it, that I think is just hard to imagine how crypto and Bitcoin specifically. I think Bitcoin indirectly brings up the other altcoins, but um, it's just hard to see how the price isn't going to go higher with things like this happening this year. And if it's always easy to be fearful in dips, like it's just that's just the way it goes. Um, but the fundamentals I think are still there, and I think it's still going to be a good year. And if it goes low, buy some Bitcoin. Hey guys, if you made it through this video, thanks a lot for sticking it through. Hopefully it was somewhat helpful to you. I really appreciate the basics in general. The fundamental things I think actually go extremely far in almost any discipline. So I'm trying to stick to those with even something like crypto. Hopefully, I think the simple arguments are the easiest to validate or disprove, and hopefully they help you in making good decisions with crypto. If this was helpful, give it a thumbs up. That'll help other people find it. It'll help support. It's an awesome way to help support my channel if you did like this. And also, if you have any questions, comment. Try to reply to every comment. My channel is so small. It's something I can do. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. I hope you kick butt with your crypto investments, and I will talk to you later.